Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So we came in today, it looked like it was going to be a quiet day, especially after yesterday's gap up with no follow through. But then the same thesis has just been holding forth, where you have stocks moving, you have indices doing nothing, but today you had stocks moving and indices moving. You had a little bit of everything. And the morning developed pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting morning, so to speak. You know, the last 2 days, we've had some pretty bad bank earnings. Then finally, Goldman Sachs came out with a positive report that had a little bit of a mixed approach, so to speak. I think, I don't even know the parameters of it, but some people were saying earnings were great, revenue missed, revenues are up, earnings missed, blah, blah, blah. PS stock was up $2. They tried hitting it down, and it couldn't go lower, and then it just went off to the races, which ignited the banks, and then the same stocks that had been acting well started acting better, and then you had some stocks join the party. So a day where there was a ton of movement. So right away, let's just go to all these charts. Take a look at the S&P. You will see I drew this rising channel and said as long as this stays intact, you stay with it. You know, I guess early on, sort of tested and then just went. Overall, this market looks really good. You know, you have from back in October, the low or higher low. Then this descending channel broke to the upside. We broke the downtrend, and now we've officially taken out 1292. We're above yesterday's 1303, and now if you take more of a macro approach, I've talked many times in the media that in the first quarter, there's no reason why we can't see 1320 to 1340, which takes you right here. And as of this point, it's only mid-January, guys. I think it's January 18th. We've had some nice new money come to work. We've been seeing a nice rotation. We've been seeing dips bought. It's been such a trader's market that it's so awesome to see. Like where you can actually look at price patterns, watch relative strength, and add to positions intraday and take off and go to the next one. So, you know, running through some of the stocks, if you recall last week, we sold some Apple into the old highs. And then yesterday, I'm like, you know what, I bet you Apple gets back on its game. You look at Apple today. Apple, you know, yesterday ignited from this little wedge type pattern. Take a closer look here on Apple. This was the nice move. This was buy area number one around 396. Here was your add into the gap from last quarter's earnings to get rid of this island top. Boom, right back to the old highs, which brings back sellers. Slow, methodical move lower, and then pow, closing at the highs. All-time highs. Good book says take some home, so you take some home considering that earnings aren't out till next Tuesday. Another stock we've been watching, Amazon, talked about in the morning call, said above 183 to 185, could see 190. Didn't think it would happen in a day. Sperling was all over this. Great play, the chat room. Good job. Look at this chart. This is where I drew the lines this morning. Didn't change it. This was that descending channel that I talked about, which was a good buy. Then here was resistance that it cleared, got as high as the moving average, and now we'll see what it goes, where it goes from there. This was the day Goldman Sachs downgraded it. This was the day to take notice that it blew it off, into bigger support. So this was your outside day, and now look where we are. Always good to look at the short-term movement. As far as Netflix, stock we've been trading for the last week and a half, unbelievable mover. We've been talking about it. Today it was downgraded. It was down like $1 or $2, got stronger, showed relative strength. Now this pattern looks unbelievable. Looks to me like we're going to be seeing a move through the recent highs here of about, what is this, 99.80? We go through 99.80. The gap doesn't get filled until, what price is this? Woo-wee, 115. And I drew this line this morning saying this is where I think it goes this quarter. Could happen sooner. This obviously was buy area number one, looking better. If you look at, you want to put some volume in here to take a look, you'll see that, volume came in to break it out, and since then it's been holding higher than this area, so that's good. As far as other stocks, I know Sperling was all over Priceline. I avoided it, a little slippery for me. But if you look here at the moving price line, another nice mover. Look at this resistance, broke above, gave you 2 days of nice action. There you go if you traded that. Google, which has been weaker, finally had a little bit of a reversal. We're holding some Google options right around the 620, 625 area, reversed. Maybe it tries to break above this area tomorrow. We had a nice move from 636 to almost 670, which is where we took some profits. So repositioning here makes a little sense, but I would just be a little skeptical because it is acting weaker. But hopefully, maybe the earnings won't be expecting much, and then we get a nice move. We'll revisit that on the radio tomorrow around 3:30. If you guys recall, you want to fast forward to mega cap land. Last week I was talking about Cisco above 19, add to that position, incubated at 1680. Even something like Cisco, if you have to have a slow mover, look at this. Nice move. It took a few days to get going, but this was the level that we drew, and now you close at 1954. 50 cents in Cisco is pretty damn good. You look at Cisco, you look at Microsoft also, holding tough. This was the breakout. This is when it broke this descending channel right here, 25.50. Now it's even holding up. You go to your monthly chart here on Microsoft. It's actually a pretty cool picture where it's done absolutely nothing since 2009. Woke up. I do think that this stock tries to challenge the highs here of 31.50, and then at some point it could even take out the 2.7 highs of 35 if this, if they do sort of deliver somewhat on their next platform. And I think at this point people are greeting it very positively. Qualcomm been long this, on the virtual trade floor for a while. Great move here, guys. Good hold for you guys also that have been staying the course. If you go to the daily chart, you'll see it a little bit closer up that this stock has had a really nice move. It still, has some room to go. We started buying it in this flag, added on the breakout. You get above 58, you could see a move. You go to your monthly chart also. Take a closer look here. It just looks like it's trying to clear this area. So on a monthly chart, lots and lots of accumulation here. On this chart, you get above almost 59.84, and then you have a lot more room. Look at, if you look back from 2004, the stock has been doing nothing for a while. You see a lot of these type of charts where they've done nothing for so long that this is why with these compressed PEs, and if we just mutter along in Europe, and we have some nothing catastrophic, but just a little bit here and there as far as bad news absorbed, these stocks could continue to keep going. As far as even little guys like FSLR, nice move today. Guys traded this a few days back. We called it out in the chat room today. Guys saw that it was flagging nicely. If you guys remember, it was on our Trash for Treasure segment right around here. Nice 2-day move, sideways action. There you go. Could continue. GMCR also, yesterday was the day, but today it went from negative to positive, broke this area that we talked about, and now is still on the move. Next area to buy here will be when it gets above this 5150 area. LinkedIn starting to flag. Nice little move off the lows. If you look here on LinkedIn, kind of rounding bout, nice flag type pattern. I would say tier 1 right around here, and then if it can get above this recent pivot of about 71.5, you have your next area in LinkedIn at about 75. If they want to get some of these other IPOs out, they better have this perform a little bit better. And then talking about IPOs, we talked in the morning call about Groupon. I was not trading it, but Sperling, we've been incubating this stock for a few days now. It took off. Look at this nice little pattern here in Groupon. Traded above it. Doesn't look like much, but this is a big percentage. Here is your flag. Your buy was around 1980, went to 2130. Another great trade. Good for you guys that are looking for these type of opportunities. And then even something like RIM, that was a takeover candidate yesterday, and everyone went after it. It was a great trade through 1670. Samsung said, no way. And this morning we were talking about 7 in the morning. I'm like, you know what, I think 1650, 1660 is buyable. That every time they don't get taken over overnight, we'll open down. Maybe we could buy those dips for a while. And then for a little snack, RIM actually had a nice green bar. You could have bought it at 1650-ish, closed at 1728. So it didn't matter that it didn't get taken over. If you look at the last time RIM did that, there was huge takeover talk from August all the way through September, and every time it opened down, it continued higher. It went from 22 to almost 34. So I think we might be in one of those time frames where you could, chip at this a little bit to at least, $20 or so. And then, the reason why the banks got so strong was Goldman Sachs. They couldn't sell it off. Decent numbers. Finally, it caught up a little bit. If you look at the chart here on Goldman Sachs, this was the downtrend that it broke. I drew this line saying it would be great if it could hold right around that 95, 96. Not only did it hold, it exploded. And look at that volume there. Okay, took out this 106 early on. I think with a little sideways action, we're going to see these October highs. Even JP Morgan, they said, I'm buying it. So for me, I didn't get back involved. But if you take this out of the way now, you have a nice little consolidation. And with a bit more time and perhaps a little bit more sideways work, it could take out this highs, which would be very, very healthy for the market. So I'm just rattling off names, rattling off situations, and they've all been very, very tradable. Even today, we've been trying to incubate this OAH trade. In the morning, we saw some of those stocks start to go. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get to a tier 2 in OAHs. Look at OAHs, finally some relative strength. This has been this descending channel, and then it finally had a nice move to retest this area, and then for the first time now it looks like it poked its head through. So maybe this starts to get going. We could probably see 125 before you get resistance. Nice wide range bar that engulfed this entire 4 days of choppiness. So to me, on that volume, it was a buy signal, and we also held higher from this low. So you name the sector, it's there. So the bottom line is, I don't think people in the community are fighting this tape, which makes me very happy. People are trying to hold multiple positions. The last 2 days we've had a bit of a hedge on. It's okay. So if you lose a little bit of money so you could sleep at night and you can maneuver and feel better, that's fine. Sperling's had like 20 positions on. I've had like 12 or 15. Hopefully we're giving you the conviction to stay with the trade. If the market is trending, trend with it. You don't only have to trade. The market is allowed to make you money. You're allowed to have more money out there working for you. But you're only going to do that if you do it in a way that's comfortable. If you have too much size, you're not going to hold. If you have too many positions, you're not going to be comfortable. You have to do what's comfortable. So I have all these positions. Not a lot of them have a ton of size. Intraday, they probably have more. Some, depending on where it is. I add and take off. Like look at Win. Win, I thought it put a bottom in last week. Yesterday was a trigger above 112. Today you had another buy price above 113.50. And look at this 3-day strategy. It doesn't really get much better than this, guys. Where you have a bottom, okay, which is what you saw here. The day all that news came out about the shareholder lawsuit. Look at that volume. Didn't go down. Then it poked its head up yesterday. Nice little trade as it broke this downtrend. And then you could have added today as it went through yesterday's high of 113.70, and you closed at almost 117. This is a nice 3-day move. Next area is about 120. That's where I would take some off if you didn't take some off today. So, as I keep talking, I keep thinking about more trades because so many of them have been going off. Just don't get yourself too scattered. Don't do too much if you're going to not have conviction in anything you do. So stay focused. Backed by popular demand, everyone was feeling pretty good. I know this is usually a sell signal, but we haven't brought him out in a while, so it's time to, let him out of his cage a little bit. This guy's a good dancer, right? I taught him this. He doesn't really do the Running Man yet or the Roger Rabbit, but he's got this little shuffle that the girls and all the other, female dogs love. So, it's what works well for him. Right, buddy? All right. Scott Redler, T3 Live, the recap. See you tomorrow morning at the call with Alex. Have a good night.